Today we're going to tell you something, not to be dramatic, but that has totally changed our lives. And that's 5 things that we did to save extra money to travel full time.
In case you're new here, we're Deb and Phil from Creatives en Route, and in April we quit our full-time jobs to be able to get out and travel full-time. We started the trip in New Orleans, Louisiana, and made a huge loop all the way out west, all the way to California and up through Montana, checking out several national parks in several states that we had never been to before. And then we made a big loop to the northeast, all the way up to Maine. And then finally we went to Puerto Rico and Costa Rica to celebrate our 10th wedding anniversary. And at the end of that, we ended up having a little bit more money than we thought we were going to have at that point. So we've taken several other trips to the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, to Ontario and Quebec in Canada, and just got back from a trip to the Northeast in New England to see the beautiful fall foliage.
So if you haven't checked them out yet, we have a whole library of videos that we've made that you can go back and check out how we've done this and some of the places that we've been. But without further ado, let's get into these 5 ways that we have saved some extra money.
The first thing we want to talk about are side hustles.
Yeah. So we have both worked full-time for a long time, and that was enough money to pay our expenses, save up some, and have a rainy day fund. But we've both been working side hustles regularly, and that money was specifically set aside for traveling.
Our work history has mostly been in the nonprofit sector, so even though we had reasonable salaries for our cost of living, they were not exorbitant amounts. So it's not like we have been able to travel everywhere we've wanted to. We've always had to be strategic and work these part-time side hustles in order to fund some of those extra things we wanted to do.
Deb is a photographer, so she does a lot of photography gigs on the side, and I'm a musician, so I've played throughout the years with a group here locally. And so that money, even though it's not been a ton, has definitely added up to be enough to take different trips throughout the years, and that has been a lot of fun. So during this time, we specifically saved that money towards this larger pot so that we could take a longer time off.
We know it's very millennial of us to work side hustles, but honestly, it's been something that's been fun, and it has given us a creative outlet outside of our regular full-time work and has afforded us some of those other things we've wanted to do.
The second thing that we've done is we really took stock of our subscriptions.
This is an area that honestly shocked me, because if you had asked me before we really sat down and wrote everything out, I would have said that we only had like 2 subscriptions and just spent a little bit of money on them each month. It turns out I was very mistaken on that one.
Yeah, as we added up all the things that we were paying every month for, it was almost $200. And a lot of those things were things that we did not really care about or need in any way.
There were several annual fees that we were paying for regular subscriptions and monthly subscriptions too, which, like Phil said, ended up being about $200 a month.
Yeah, so honestly, we just took stock of those things. We really tried to evaluate what was important to us and what was adding value to our lives as we started having this goal of saving as much as we possibly could. So we didn't eliminate all of the subscriptions, but we really cut down on some of those extra things that weren't adding a lot of value to what we had shifted our priorities to focus on.
Yeah, we pretty much cut it down to just stuff related to our phone that we felt like we still needed to be able to produce YouTube videos, and an Adobe subscription, which I use for photography. And that's it now. And my biggest advice here is just be honest with yourself about it, because every time I heard somebody say, oh, just cut your subscriptions, I didn't really think that applied to me.
Yeah, turns out it probably applies to you too.
It does. All right, the third one was probably the biggest hit to morale. But that is not eating out at restaurants out of convenience.
We both really love to cook, but even though we enjoy cooking, we ended up eating out a lot because it was just more convenient than cooking at home.
Yeah, we're honestly busy, active people. In case you can't tell by our videos, we like to do a lot of stuff. We like to see friends and family a lot. And so we just end up being busy. And it turns out it's usually more convenient to grab something out than it is to cook and clean in your own kitchen.
Yeah, and I don't know about you, but after getting home at 5 or 6 in the evening, I really didn't want to spend another hour in the kitchen trying to make a meal that we were just going to devour in 30 minutes because we were so hungry. So we really tried to look ahead and to say, how can we reduce how much we're eating out? And that expense was pretty big because even those like convenient kind of meals that we didn't think were like, oh, nice meals eating out, we're still adding up to be like $30 or $50 just to eat a good meal out.
So we set a goal for ourselves that we were only going to eat out for special circumstances or special events, or when we were intentionally saying, hey, this is worth it to us. So we weren't restricting ourselves completely. If we felt like we wanted to have a date night or we wanted to go out with friends or family because we hadn't seen them in a while, we did that. But we were able to do that, not feeling as guilty because we weren't eating out very regularly whatsoever.
The fourth thing is closely related, and it's about reducing food waste, which we were definitely guilty of when we were eating out so much.
Yeah, honestly, it's a little embarrassing. I think it's something that we were guilty of even when we were planning stuff at home. Because anytime we would go to the store, we would like half plan our grocery list, and then we'd be like, oh, we're done planning, and we'd go to the store and we'd end up buying a bunch of extra stuff anyway. So we set a goal for ourselves that we were going to thoroughly plan our meals before we actually went to the store. And we were going to plan multiple meals in the week that we knew would use up those extra ingredients from the other meal, so that we weren't only using a half can of something or a few herbs for one dish, but we were only buying ingredients that really were going to be used up in their entirety.
Yeah, we had to get real about the meals that we were actually going to cook and to be honest about that whenever we made our list. Because we were still making lists before whenever we were eating out, but a lot of times we would think ahead, and whenever that time came, we were like, we don't actually want this meal. And so all those ingredients that we had gotten for it were no longer necessary. So we had to really think ahead and commit to what meals we were going to make. But one of the unintended consequences of this is just that the food that we were cooking was healthier and we had a lot less to throw away. So we were much better able to use the food that we were getting throughout the week.
Yeah. Honestly, this is another one that I feel like I just kind of felt a little ashamed of once I realized how much we were wasting. Because I thought we were planning and I thought we were being intentional about what we were going to make and what we were spending on groceries, what waste we were producing. But it turns out there were so many ways we could have been cutting that back, and we just hadn't been because we didn't need to.
Yeah, there's a lot of times that we would get like our sacrificial bag of carrots that would just sit in the drawer until they went bad, and then I would take them out and throw them away. And honestly, whenever I started thinking about the money that I was throwing into the trash can, I was like, why are we buying these just to throw them away?
Yeah, it was like the changing of the guard.
Yeah.
With our carrots. But not just about money. We really were just contributing a lot to like the landfill and wasting a ton of food, which honestly is a huge privilege. And I think that with this, we've had to confront some of those ways that maybe our spending hasn't been as ethical as we necessarily thought it was to begin with, because we thought we were trying to be intentional with our money before this, but really diving into everything and looking at it with a magnifying glass kind of shows you some of those dark corners that maybe you don't necessarily want to confront regularly. All right, the last thing we did to save money to travel full time was to sell a bunch of stuff that we didn't need and to stop buying more stuff we didn't need.
We already considered ourselves minimalists to a certain extent. But as we started really going through some of the things in the closet that just get pushed back and pushed back further, we really realized that we had a lot more things that we didn't need and honestly didn't even want anymore.
Yeah. And some of those things we were just holding on to for sentimental purposes. I think the biggest and most difficult thing to get rid of that we really needed to confront was the selling of Phil's 1998 Chevy S10. It was really sad because it's the truck that we drove in to go get engaged. We drove away from our wedding in Margaret was the name of the truck.
Yeah, it had served us so well, and I had had that truck. It was so nostalgic for me. But we just weren't using it anymore. We had already gotten 2 other vehicles that were much better on gas, and we just didn't need the truck bed anymore. And so making the decision to sell it, even though it was hard, was definitely the right way to go. And that contributed a lot towards what we were able to save in making this decision to travel. If you go through your closet, you can probably find a whole host of different items that were important to you at one point, but honestly, you have no intention of using it again. And even those little items can really add up. So there were lots of ways that we sold items. Specifically, we use social media. We would post different items on social media, and people could purchase them off of there. We had a small yard sale, which was a lot of fun to try to get rid of a few items. And then especially those like big ticket items, we tried to post those so that people, so that those would sell first. And that was really, really helpful.
And our goal was to not replace those items. And so historically we'd like given away or sold items so that we can make space to clear stuff, because that was kind of our like minimalist philosophy, that if we were going to bring something new in, we were going to get rid of something. But this time our goal was not to replace it. So I'm very proud to say that like I have not bought a single piece of clothing in the past like 8 or 9 months whatsoever. And I'm not a fashionista. I don't love shopping, but I was going and buying random stuff semi-regularly. And especially like with the holidays and stuff, I love Halloween. I love Christmas. So every year I wanted a new mug or new decor, things like that.
Can confirm.
And one more little last thing I think that I would do as a traveler that has really changed is I felt like before every trip, we needed to prepare, and that usually meant buying something to make sure that you were prepared for it. And I've realized that usually you don't need extra things to prepare, you know? And so really just stopping to buy like extra clothing or extra little things to have in your backpack or car. We have not done that this year.
I think one of the benefits of traveling is that you often travel with less than you might keep at home. And whenever we've traveled in the past, I've just realized how little we actually need to be happy. And so it's really helped us prioritize having experiences over stuff.
It turns out when you're living out of just your SUV or just a backpack, there's not a lot that can fit in those areas.
Yeah, I didn't miss stuff whenever we were gone. I honestly just didn't miss it. And the idea of needing to be responsible for it when we got back was frustrating.
So in case you can't tell by all of this, we really felt like we were already being so intentional about our money and our spending before starting this process of really trying to save every penny that we could. And I think that this process has just shown us that there were so many more ways to cut back than we even previously thought, which again is that is such a privilege, to be honest. But I think that something that was important for us from the beginning and has always been important to us with saving is that we don't want to focus so much on saving that we forget to live in the interim. So we really wanted to balance not spending anything extra on things that didn't matter, but only spending on the things that we cared about.
One of the things that we really had to get real with were our values and our priorities. Because at the end of the day, all 5 of these things really come down to just what do you value and what do you prioritize. So we said we really value experiences and we want to prioritize saving so that we have this option to travel. And when we got real about that, a lot of other things fell into place and we ended up saving a lot to be able to quit our jobs entirely and to take a few months off.
So if you liked hearing from us, we just like sharing these experiences because we felt like these kinds of videos were so instrumental in getting us thinking about making a change in our lives that could be something that was life-changing. I guess something that changes your life would be life-changing. But now we just want to share from our experiences as well to hopefully inspire somebody else that these things could be possible, even if they look a little bit different than the kind of conventional approach to money and space and travel.
Yeah. We're definitely two regular people who worked regular jobs. We didn't sell everything and just hit the road, but we really want to have a lot of experiences. So if you like this kind of content, we encourage you to go back and check out some of our videos. Some are our build videos on how we SUV camp and how we travel on a budget. And then other ones are just experiences that we want to share with you all. So hopefully you'll find those entertaining, but also inspiring to go out and explore on your own.
And leave us a comment because we love engaging with you all.
And subscribe to the channel so you won't miss out on our future videos, because we're really excited about what the future has in store for this channel.
Yeah.
We'll see you next time.
Bye. Of things getting pinched.
What things?
The
The
third.
second?
The second thing?
Today we're gonna...
You got it.
Okay.
Thank you for being here.
Bye. We'll see
Bye.
you next time.
Oh.
Oh.
Full time.
Full time.
And other sorts of things that I'm forgetting right now.
Let's start over.
Cool.
Come buy our crap. Come buy our crap. We've got some stuff for you to buy. It is some crap we don't.
I have a bunch of crap and I need to sell it now. Come to our yard sale and buy all of our crap now. Buy all of our crap now.